boy, Jimmy G, the number 2 favorite to win the Super Bowl MVP. Of course, Patrick Mahomes, the top favorite at FanDuel. These odds were released on January 20th, the initial release. Mahomes is plus 100, which is basically even money. Jimmy Garoppolo, as you can see on your screen, if you're watching again on YouTube, we'll run through the top options here for the audio listeners. Jimmy G, plus 240. Raheem Mostert, 7.5 to 1. George Kittle, 17 to 1. Travis Kelce, 18 to 1. Deebo Samuel, 20 to 1. Tyreek Hill, 28 to 1. Damian Williams, 29 to 1. Manny Sanders, 34. Sammy Watkins, 34. Nick Bosa, 41. And Tevin Coleman, 45. So I would ask you guys, do you see, Breech, a good value on this board? And or is there anyone you'd be interested in maybe dabbling in for Super Bowl MVP if you're sort of looking at it, in the early goings here?
My early going dabble along with my value pick would either be Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce. Yes, I know the 49ers had the best pass defense in the NFL this year, but if you look at, they've had 2 games where they played the top 2 receivers in the league. They played Michael Thomas, they played Julio Jones. Both those guys torched them. I think they both actually finished with 134 yards exactly. Both had double-digit receptions. So the 49ers had some trouble stopping those big studs. Travis Kelce, 4th most yards in the NFL. Julio Jones and Michael Thomas were 1 and 2. And you throw in Tyreek Hill. So you kind of have to pick your poison. I think at least one of those guys will have a big day. And if you take one at MVP, I feel like you have pretty good value there. And we saw a wide receiver win MVP last year. So it is not crazy to think that someone who catches the football will win MVP of Super Bowl 54.
I think an interesting one is Tevin Coleman, because with the dislocated shoulder, we kind of assume or think that he's going to be coming back banged up, and he's not going to be 100%, so that doesn't mean he can't win it, but it is a dislocated shoulder. That is something that you could put into a brace. You can kind of put into like a little shoulder harness, and you could shoot up to take away some of that pain. So you've got the stability with the brace. You're shooting up to take away the pain to play in the Super Bowl. He very easily could step in, considering the running back by committee with San Francisco, and he could do a good job based on how he proves himself throughout the course of the next couple of weeks in practice. And he could be a guy based on the value that ends up sneaking up if the 49ers can run the football the way I think that they could, looking at this Chiefs rush defense. So he's kind of a sneaky good one. I think if you're really looking for like a comp to me, at least looking back to other Super Bowls that were a similar matchup between the two teams, like I kind of look at this matchup and think it's similar to, remember that prolific Broncos offense back in with the 2013 season into 2014 versus the Seattle Seahawks, a mostly defensive-led front and team that could run the football, and then you had a quarterback who could make some plays, took care of the football, and Russell Wilson. I kind of liken them to the San Francisco 49ers. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it Malcolm Smith who ended up being Super Bowl MVP of that particular game? That leads me to think like maybe Nick Bosa could end up being someone who, he's going to receive a lot of focus and attention, but because of how talented this defensive front is, it's not like the Chiefs can provide that much help for Bosa's side because of Buckner and Armstead and D Ford and when Solomon Thomas comes in and all the other pieces that they have up front. And so I think because of that, like maybe even Nick Bosa could be a sneaky good play if he has a couple of sacks, a sack fumble, fumble recovery, or maybe in a sack fumble he returns for a touchdown, something of that nature. Maybe it ends up being a kind of like a sneaky good value play here if you're looking like way down the list.
Just to kind of touch on those picks, and I think that you guys all made great points, and I would have made very similar points. One, on Nick Bosa, I love the idea of Bosa. He should not be 40 to 1 or more, because if Jimmy G, like if the 49ers win with defense and they slow down Patrick Mahomes and they win that game with defense, obviously you're going to go with a defensive player as your MVP. And if you do that, you're going to need, like the reason Malcolm Smith won it wasn't because he was the best defender out there. It's because he had the best stats on the defense that dominated Peyton Manning. So to me, Nick Bosa is the guy who can get the sacks, get the pressures, the forced fumbles, maybe, he scoop score, something like that. If they win the game and he has a great performance on a big stage with numbers, I think he can win. Like for that reason, I don't like Richard Sherman as a potential pick, because I don't think that they'll throw at Richard Sherman. So even if he shuts down half the field, I don't think he's going to be, getting the stats that he would win. He's like 75 to 1 or something like that. I don't mind a Tyreek Hill Travis Kelce ideas that Breech mentioned. The problem is, I think if Kelce or Hill go off, Mahomes is probably going to get it because of how well he's played. He's already been the MVP before. Like, it would take Tyreek Hill with a long end around or a punt return or something like that to win, in my opinion. And then the one other point I would make too is that the Tevin Coleman call, love it. If he like Mostert's the guy, and he gets 29 carries again, then he'll take it. If not, and Coleman is able to play and he gets most of the carries, Kyle Shanahan rides a hot hand, 45-1. That's ridiculous for him. So I have no problem with any of those picks that you guys made. I like them. Great call.
And the last thing I'll just say on the Coleman point. So Matt Breida, if you actually look at the end of the season, he kind of suffered a number of times. He's fumbled the football. I can't remember what week, but he had a couple fumbles, even though they only lost one maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago. He's fumbled before that. Kind of been in the doghouse since then, and riding as that third string running back. So I think that also makes more of a case for Coleman. Now, if he is healthy enough and he demonstrates that he's healthy enough throughout the course of practice, that he would potentially play and potentially fill in a big-time role if they are running the football well.
Yeah, and with Coleman too, it's worth noting our boy Raheem left the game against the Vikings, I think, with calf cramps. So, like, I mean, if Breida's in the dog, I mean, Breida's not a bad flyer either. He's probably like 150-1. I mean, It wouldn't be surprising if Mostert cramped up, Coleman couldn't play, and they're just like, all right, we got to lean on Breida, and he has a huge game in that running attack.
Little sprinkle on Breida, maybe. Little sprinkle.
I like it. 100-1 per Devo. So yeah, definitely sprinkle on that one. Nothing wrong with that.